Welcome to Car Crash Fundamentals. I'm your host, Mark Mayfield. In this video, you will learn, what do I do after a car crash? What do I do after a car crash if I cannot move my vehicle safely? Do you have a duty to provide information or render aid after a car crash? So let's jump into it. What do I do after a car crash? The Texas Transportation Code has a number of statutory sections that specifically apply to an operator's duties after a crash. Your responsibilities depend on the nature of the crash and the type of damage involved. So let's take a look at the individual statutes and how they apply. Section 550.021 of the Texas Transportation Code addresses a vehicle operator involved in a car crash that results or is reasonably likely to result in injury to or death of a person. The statute requires the vehicle operator to immediately stop the vehicle at the scene of the collision or as close to the scene as possible, and do so without obstructing traffic more than is necessary. Immediately return to the scene of the collision if the vehicle is not stopped at the scene of the collision. Immediately determine whether a person is involved in the collision, and if a person is involved in the collision, whether that person requires aid, and remain at the scene of the collision until the operator complies with their duty to give information and render aid. If you believe it's possible somebody was injured in an accident, you should immediately summon the police. You should also request an ambulance to render aid. What do I do after a car crash if I cannot move my vehicle safely? If you have a vehicle involved in the crash that cannot be normally and safely driven, the Texas Transportation Code, Section 550.026, requires a vehicle operator to immediately, by the quickest means of communication, give notice of the collision to the local police department if the collision occurred in a municipality, local police department, or the sheriff's office if the collision occurred not more than 100 feet outside the limits of a municipality, or sheriff's office or the nearest office of the department if the collision is not required to be reported under subdivision 1 or 2. Do you have a duty to provide information or render aid after a car crash? Yes. If the crash resulted in injury or death of a person, you need to immediately provide information and render aid. Section 550.023 of the Texas Transportation Code requires a vehicle operator to give the operator's name and address, the registration number of the vehicle the operator was driving, and the name of the operator's motor vehicle liability insurer to any person injured, or the operator or occupant of, or person attending a vehicle involved in the collision. If requested and available, show the operator's driver's license to a person described in Subdivision 1, and provide any person injured in the collision reasonable assistance, including transporting or making arrangements for transporting the person to a physician or hospital for medical treatment, if it is apparent that treatment is necessary, or if the injured person requests the transportation. That's all the time we have. The outro music's coming. See you in the next video.